unique. There's only one you, and God has never ever created a nobody, because He has deposited something inside of you that is different, that is unique, that is all yours. In House of Praise, you find expression to display that uniqueness, that special thing that God has deposited in you. This is a place where you display your talent. This is a place where you display your expertise, and you express yourself in service and worship and praise to God the Father. House of Praise is a place of deliverance, of salvation, and cleansing. Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to just welcome you to this program. This is House of Praise, Church of God Mission, and we are live. We are bringing to you live a program for the year, and this is what you will not learn. And I have here with me some very fantastic people who are here with me. So welcome. We're just waiting for our moderator. She's just trying to come in. I think she's her internet is acting up. Thank you. Our moderator is here, Christabel. So please, over to you, Christabel.
Okay, good day, everyone. Hello, Africa. Hello, America, Asia, Europe, Australia, wherever you're joining us from. We would like to say a big thank you. Thank you, South Africa. We have speakers and participants from all over the world today, and we're Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had to use my backup connection. All right. So my name is Christabel Iriaye, and for the next 2 days, I have the privilege of being your compere for the event. And basically, this event is titled "What You Would Not Learn in Business School," and it's brought to you by Church of God Mission House of Praise International, located at Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria. And we've convened speakers from all over the world, speakers who have amongst them a combined number of about 80 years of experience working across the public and private sectors from with multidisciplinary experiences. You know, and when we talk about experience, they say experience is the best teacher, you know, but I've come to also realize that you necessarily do not have to learn from your own experience, but you can actually learn much more from the experiences of others. So that's why we're having this program tonight. And we want to say, for the next 90 minutes or so, please do not change that dial. Even if you stumbled on this by accident, please just stay tuned, because it intends to be a very engaging and enlightening session. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to the convener of this program, Reverend Mrs. Mabi Sibo. She's a woman who wears many hats, but I would just like to introduce her as the senior pastor of Church of God Mission, House of Praise, and the founder, as well as the executive vice chairman of Poise Nigeria. Reverend Mabi, over to you for your opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christabel, and welcome Africa and all the other parts of the world. If you're joining us from there, I just want to say welcome. But before we go into the business of the day, shall we just share a word of prayer? You know, because nothing can happen, you know, without us calling on the name of our Father. So shall we just pray? My Father and my God, we give you glory and honor and adoration. This day has finally come, the day that we prepared and we got ready for. And Lord, the day that you have purposed Almighty God to teach us by yourself. We ask in the name of Jesus that you take complete control and glorify your name at the end of this program. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Thank you. This is House of Praise that is bringing you this program. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. Welcome once again to the Conclave of Great Minds. Church of God Mission House of Praise Province has brought great minds together to discuss issues we experience every day on the field, business, and commerce. And so, we have put together this program. Many of the topics to be treated will not be found in books. You will not find them in any manual, as they are personal experiences related to our individual field of endeavor. Every one of the speakers, every one of them is an entrepreneur in their own rights. Etiquette and personality development, business development, image and management consulting, construction, mining, and general enterprise. They are entrepreneurs in all of these areas, and they excel in them all. Now, the language of business is the same all over the world, but the methods differ from continent to continent, from country to country, and even city to city. How do you know when to press further or when to stop negotiating and deal? When should you say no, even when the business looks juicy and mouth-watering? How do you even know that negotiations have commenced and that the other party is just chit-chatting? How do you know that the other party is not just chit-chatting and that he's actually started the conversation and the negotiation? What does it feel like to move on after a grievous mistake? Standing up, picking up the pieces of your pride or your resources and psyching yourself to advance or to start all over again? And what about understanding that in the midst of it all, after several no's, you still have to maintain the highest decorum and be polite and courteous? What you will be listening to today and tomorrow is a compendium of invaluable life lessons learned at the feet of very expensive tutors called business life. Business is a teacher. I can tell you, many people have failed the exam, but many more people have passed exam. So join me today in welcoming our gracious guests that will be introduced by Christabel very soon. Our guest speakers, once again, I would like to welcome you, my beloved audience. No, please, I want to advise that you sit back with your pen and paper, your iPads, or your writing materials, so that you can drink from the knowledge wells, the well of all of these erudite speakers. All right. So remember that you can ask questions. Please just type your questions in the comment section on your screen. Type your question, and our speakers will be very happy to oblige you with the answers as much as they know. I want to welcome you one more time, and I want to say thank you indeed for joining us. Thank you very much indeed. You're welcome. Thank you. I think that Christabel is having some problems with her internet. So while we wait for her, let me just do the honors of introducing Mr. Olumide Dare. Olumide Dare is a seasoned entrepreneur and a professional with multidisciplinary experience in the power sector, in banking, and construction. Olumide Dare is a Nigerian and is right here with us in Nigeria. And I'm proud to say that he's also a member of House of Praise. So, welcome, Olumide Dare. I really appreciate you. And Papi and all our other speakers. I'm sure that Christabel will be introducing you later. So, welcome, Olumide. Over to you, and let's have your presentation without too much more ado.
Thank you very much, Reverend Mavi Sibo. I also thank House of Praise for this forum, for this platform to enable us share our experiences in how we have dealt with issues that we will not and were not taught in business school. Thank you everyone for joining. The audience, you're welcome today. We thank you for joining us. I'll be giving a brief introduction about, the topic we'll be taking today, and then afterwards we'll go, into the slides and look at the nuggets we have there. So the grand, topic why we are here today is to learn about things that will not, or that are not being taught in business school, things you will not learn in business school. I happen to be a member of the executive MBA class of Lagos Business School 16. And, I went to business school looking for, an all-round solution to business problems, to management. And trust me, Lagos Business School gave me a lot of that and even more. Gave me, career elevation, more money, as we all quest for, as well as the knowledge that I went there for. But trust me, in my 8 years after leaving business school, there are a number of issues that I've encountered on the field, which is what we call experience today, that I just say, hey, where was this in business school? I'm not equipped for this, or I wasn't equipped for this academically. All the strategy that we've learned, all the solutions to business problems, all the, information about the economic environment of business. I mean, where does this particular issue fit in? And that is what we call experience. There are a lot of things that will happen outside of, what we have learned, and it doesn't have to be just business school. In any area of, academia that you find yourself, you are in any area of learning. You've learned something that you're supposed to use, towards achieving your goal. So when you meet issues that were not taught, you either start wondering what to do, or you think on your feet, and then you take action. So I'm going to be sharing today on the topic called the right attitude. The right attitude. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I know many of us have, studied in different schools, different levels of education, and we've learned strategy, you've learned marketing, you've learned innovation, you've learned all the things that, the corporate world needs for your level. And many more of us have read several books also. Books about how to achieve your goals, the principles of getting to the top, how not to let people, step on you in the corporate world, how to be tough, how to fight your way to the top. Say if you are cool and calm, you may not get the corner office, and all that. We've learned and read different things across different topics. But what I love most about those lessons is the result you get from blending all those lessons with the right attitude to produce success. I'll say that again. What I love most about everything that is being taught academically and everything we read in books, all the great books around the world, is the result you get when you blend that information with the right attitude to achieve success. So in life, we all wake up as human beings with goals. Everything we do daily is because of a goal we have in mind. We're working towards something. At every level of life, you have something that you need to achieve. You need to wake up and go to work because from this level, you want to become a manager, or you want to become a president of the organization. You are going to work, with a particular goal in mind. And in our quest to achieve, these goals, there are people we meet all across the ladder. There are people we meet, on the corridors. There are people we meet in offices. There are people who, we meet because they come to our own offices also. And these people play different roles in the achievement of our goals or in our lives. Some of them are there because they determine whether we get to the top or whether we get to the apex of our goal. Some of them are there, to give us a push towards the achievement of our goals. Some of them are there to learn from us, to watch what they see in us and to, take lessons from there and be better people. And some are just observers. But in our race towards achieving our goal, we meet all these various kinds of people. And because we're in this world, all these people are human. And, they have feelings, they move with expressions, and then they watch your own expressions to determine how they will react to you or how they are going to, what the result of your conversation with them will be, or how they will assess you, maybe for a position, for a promotion, for different changes in your life or in your career. And that means the way you come across when you meet these different categories of people matters a whole lot. The way you come across when you meet people who will determine your career growth, people who work in your team, maybe people you lead, is very important because the team makes the man. Your influence generally amongst these people is very, very important because at the end of the day, that is what they take away. The way, what they remember about you is what you exude at the end of the day. Now, one ability which cannot be ignored by anybody in these categories I have listed is your attitude. Is your attitude. Because we all learned, we all went to different institutions of learning to get skills. So there are skills, all around. You have all the skills. But attitude, the right attitude is like the salt in your food. You have so many, skills. I went to Harvard. It's like a piece of meat in your soup. I went to Lagos Business School. I went to University of Lagos. I went to, whatever institution, Nigerian Open University, even for those who have stopped at maybe secondary school level of it, you have acquired some level of skill. But in presenting those skills, there's an important ingredient which stands you out from the next person or makes your skills memorable in the mind of the people that you are trying to, that you are showing those skills to. The attitude with which you present the skills that you have lasts longer in the memories of your audience than the skill, because skill is everywhere. No matter how many institutions you have gone to, there are people, equal number of, people who have gone to same institutions. There are people who have even done more than you have. We have successful businessmen who have not even gone to as many institutions as some other people. And so, but your attitude is what a lot of people remember and carry on from where they met you. So we'll be looking at a few slides shortly. But before we do that, I have a question for the audience. What is the attitude you tuned in with today? What is the attitude that you came here with today? Were you forced to tune in by someone? Is it that if you don't tune in, the speaker will think, you're not his friend and you do not like him? Are you thinking, what do they have to say again today? I've read books, is there anything new in attitude? Please, how has attitude even helped me, in life or in career? I don't think there's anything new, but let them not say, I wasn't here. Or is it, oh, I've heard a lot about attitude determines your altitude, how successful people, are people who put the right attitude first. Oh, I want to listen today so I can improve my attitude. These last three that I mentioned, how to improve your attitude and to learn more about the right attitude, should be our attitude today. For those who are here or who are listening with other, reasons for being here, this is the time for you to press that button in your mind and change the attitude, which is the reason for which you are here. Just change that and try to look at the positive side of why you're here. Knowledge is never too much. Like the moderator said, you don't have to learn from your own experiences. It could be one word, it could be one sentence, it could be an addition, it could be something you've learned and you've forgotten. You are going to relearn it here today. So I want us all to put on the right attitude now as we go through these slides. The topic right attitude is so broad. It can't be covered in one day, neither can it be covered in 1,000 pages of books. It's a continuous learning. So we're going to spend a few minutes looking at some key things, why is our attitude the way it is? What can we do to change it? And what are the gains from, putting on the right attitude? So attitude basically is the way you approach the world and how the world sees you. That's a simple way to put it. How you approach the world and how the world sees you. In everyday life, different situations, face you. It could be encouraging ones, it could be challenging ones, but the question is, how do you approach these things? And at the end of the day, what does the world see? What comes out of you? Attitude is also behavioral traits that are visible to yourself and to others because it comes out of you. You cannot hide it. It comes, even if you don't say something, your attitude still shows for people who are observing you. Attitude is also an intention carrier. You may want to, there are different ways of saying no, for instance. Some person may say, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. Maybe, if when I'm in a position, I'm going to do it for you. Some other person may say, no, get out of here. Two different ways of saying no, but the difference is in the attitude. Your attitude shows the you behind your intention. You may have said just no, but there's something else attached to what you have said. Attitude determines your success, determines how far you go. Trust me, I don't know one CEO that I've worked with that wants, a senior manager or even any staff at all with a bad attitude. Even the security man at the gate, who you may see as the lowest staff in any company, must have the right attitude. It is very important to the success of organizations. And so it is important that every member of an organization have the right attitude. Attitude is something the world is constantly waiting to see. Whether you are on the side of receiving or you are on the side of the giver, the world wants to see what attitude are you going to display today. You may be in your office and people come to seek business from your office. This attitude you put on, whether you want to look at them as, oh, these people have come again, or to drop their CV, look at them, job seekers, or they've come to look for contracts. This is how they always come and flock around my office. That's one attitude. And another attitude is, hello, you're welcome. How may we help you? We're here to serve you. Please sit down. Attitude, the world is waiting, and the world will constantly ask you. They will demand the right attitude from you. And where you don't give it, trust me, you've put it on record, and people are going to take it away. So, in every decision making, which is what results in the attitude we display, there's a dialogue that goes on in our minds. The dialogue of choice, which is, how should I react to this? Should I look at it as negative, or should I look at it in a positive light? Should I look at the cup as half full? Should I look at the cup as half empty? This dialogue goes on in our heads all the time. The human mind makes at least 35,000 decisions every day. In all of these decisions that go on in your head, you have to come out with a position at the end of the day. Now, the question is my position going to be positive, or is it going to be negative? And it's a choice that we make before it comes out of us. That battle, that dialogue takes place in the head, and then, other people see it. The power of choice of what comes out of us is in our hands as human beings. We have to use it right. Now, what is our default setting? There are people we know in this world who will just say, oh, he's just a happy person. He's always happy. He's always smiling. He's always kind. He's always good. He does all the right things. And there are people we know also who will say, don't go there. That person is an angry person. People have default settings. But trust me, the choice of your setting is in your hands. The choice of the attitude you want people to see is in your hands. It's important for us to evaluate ourselves and say, how far has my attitude taken me? How has my attitude affected me, positively or negatively, so far? That evaluation is not just an exercise. It's an exercise for you to know, how do I make better choices? How do I make better decisions? How do I come across as a positive individual to other people? It's always very important. Periodically, just self-evaluate. How is my attitude affecting me? Because at the end of the day, attitude, like we have said earlier, is everything. Now, there are different decision-making influencers that determine, what comes out of us at the end of the day, or how we handle situations, or how we deal with people, or, what our default setting is. There are different things, and we cannot, enumerate all of them here, but we'll just look at a few of them so that it's important we know that these things should not hinder us from being successful, or being successful within the time that we should. Because we may know one or two people who do not put on the right attitude, but they're in the right office. That's possible. But that fraction of people, trust me, very small, and that's not the fraction we want to be in today. So there are different things in the lives of different individuals that, determine what decision they make when that dialogue is going on and how they show it at the end of the day. One of them is upbringing. Some people carry on what they've learned from childhood, whether good or bad, they carry it on to adulthood. They carry it on to the position where they now have to make decisions for themselves. Yes, you started learning something when decisions were being made for you, or when you were watching your parents, or when you were, working with your parents as a child, or from the home. But as we get to adulthood, decision making hood, let me call it that, we need sometimes to unlearn things and to relearn, to unlearn some things and to relearn, not to allow history determine our success or how far we go. We should not. Personal experiences also affect people's decision making. Oh, I've been burnt once. No, when I see someone coming my way, I just want to believe that the person wants to cheat me. So I'm going to be defensive. I'm going to, be, no. We need to be conscious of these things. Personal experiences, yes, they mold the way we evaluate things in future. However, we must not lose consciousness of the steps that will take us to our goal. If your personal experience was negative, you don't have to carry it on for life. You do not have to carry it on for life. There are processes to drop how those things have affected you, and to approach life with positivity, because the right attitude is the way to success. Self-esteem, whether low or high, is another thing that affects our decision making. Some people, because of high self-esteem, they are proud. People see them as arrogant, and they believe, oh, yes, it's confidence. I read it in a book that, oh, I should be confident when I want to do this, when I want to. Confidence, like I said earlier, is one thing that we have learned. Marrying it with the right attitude, it what makes it an effective trait. Low self-esteem also is something that affects people's, decision-making process, and then the attitude we see in them at the end of the day. These things need to be dealt with so that we can have the right attitude always. Feelings also. I'm not in the mood today. I'm in the mood to shout. No. We are human. All these things I've listed here happen to us. And it's natural. It's, it will happen because we are human. We won't be happy 365 days of the year. I mean, we may not be happy 365 days of the year. But when you are feeling unhappy, what do you do to ensure that it doesn't affect what comes out of you? It is very important. Relationship with other parties also affects your decision making. For instance, you may say the person doesn't like you, so you are going to give the person a negative attitude. We don't really have to. That's the truth of the matter. Because when the attitude that comes out of us is not only seen by one person that you are trying to address, or that you are trying to give that negative attitude, other people can see. And you don't want to give people confusing interpretations of your attitude. The right attitude always is what we should put up. Always, always, all the time. We must be conscious of it. And the reason I've listed these things here is because the consciousness of these, influencers, as well as others that we're going to go through, in life generally, is a first step to ensuring that the negative ones do not affect your ability to display the right attitude. Determination to succeed is also something that this is the positive. It makes people, in fact, is the number one conscious, in the index for you to know that, with this my goal and my determination, I cannot afford to put on, even when I'm not happy, I cannot afford to put on a negative attitude. It helps. And we all having goals in life. I said earlier, if we wake up and you don't have a goal for that day, for that week, for that month, there is something wrong. We should live life purposefully. We should live life purpose. And when you have a purpose, then you are determined to succeed in that purpose. When people excel in a particular purpose, they move on to others. That is how life should be. We should not just exist in the world and what time pass by. We should live life. We must have a purpose and a goal every day. And that's the determination to succeed in those things is one of the drivers towards putting on the right attitude always. Now, some importance of, putting on the right attitude. The right attitude opens doors for you because people just see, someone who is sensitive to the environment, someone who is pleasant, someone who does not complain, does not grumble, does not murmur. People remember traits about you which they use in their own decision making. Should I open this opportunity to this person? Oh, I remember you. I met you when I came to XYZ office. Come in. Or no, I remember you. You were very nasty. You can't, there's no space for you here. The right attitude opens doors, always. At least opens the door for you to be listened to, as compared to someone who is remembered for a negative attitude. A right attitude converts your opposition. If you remember in the last slide, I was saying your relationship with someone could affect, your attitude towards the person. However, if you have chosen that, despite the relationship, probably it's the person who displays a negative attitude towards you, but despite what that person does or how that person approaches you or talks to you, if you choose to put on the right attitude, you influence that person. You convert someone who is seemingly your opposition to you because the person will just feel bad. You just feel, wow, I was expecting this person to give me a fight. But look at this person's disposition, look at the attitude. And more often than not, such people just come and say, oh, I'm so sorry I did that to you, can we be friends and all that. And you have affected someone positively. The right attitude positions you for promotion. All the bosses I worked with during my 12-year banking career and now 4 years in the power sector, they love people who have the right attitude towards work. We need to understand, for those who work in teams or in companies as employees, you are in a workplace for work. There is no work that is too much in a workplace. Any work that is beyond your current ability is an opportunity to learn something new. So, not an opportunity for you to display a negative attitude because, oh, this is not my work, why are they giving me this? But the more you accept responsibility in an organization, the more you are recognized, and the more the bosses just remember you when it's time for promotion. The opportunity will come to you first before those who put up wrong attitude towards more work, because that seems to be the usual complaints in the workplace. Oh, the work is too much. Oh, this is not my job. Oh, why is it giving me more work? Why not Mr. B? Why not Mr. C? Why is it always me? If you have the right attitude, oh, this work, okay, thank you, sir. But there are a few questions I'd like to ask so it can guide me towards, can I have, a little more time just so that I can put in what I just learned into that's a right attitude to show towards more work in a workplace. It is very, very important for promotion in a workplace. Right attitude affects your team positively. If people see your team, they see how you act, how you behave, how you approach issues, how you approach difficult people. It definitely has a positive influence on your team. It's also a faster road to success. And at the end of the day, attitude is everything. Now, I want us to look at a few ways we can improve, our attitude as we, as we come to a close of this short session. Like I said, the time is so short, but there are things we must pick out. There are things we must know and be conscious of that can affect our attitude. Now, when you identify them, your problem is half solved. So definitely you will not display a negative attitude, because you know that this thing, I must not allow it to affect my decision-making process. That battle between the negative and the positive that happens in our minds must be controlled. We must take charge of those things. So some of the things that can improve our attitude, and I'm going to round it up with a brief talk on humility. One of them is self-motivation. I said earlier that if you have a goal, something you are chasing and you are determined, definitely you know that the right attitude is a must-have for you to achieve your goal within set time. Pursuing positive activities that make you happy is also one of the influencers for right attitude. Happy people hardly ever have time to squeeze their face, or to say, or to grumble, or to murmur, or to be rude to people. They're just happy. When you're happy from inside, it comes out. Whatever you have inside, whatever you harbor inside of you, comes out eventually. So when you are determined to succeed and you have set goals, is an influencer for right attitude. You have to define your success guidelines and remind yourself regularly. When you do that, you know that one of the ingredients, or the major ingredient I need in this pursuit, is a right attitude, because a lot of other people have the skills that you have. What will differentiate you is the right attitude. When you are determined to always think and speak positively also, it affects what is inside of you, because out of, the heart flows, the issues of life. It's what happens here. The battle is in our mind. Let us remember, the battle is here. So if you always think positive about yourself, about your neighbor, your fellow, your colleagues, your family, people you are going to meet, you are going, for an interview, you are thinking positive things about where you are going. There's no way you get there and you won't smile. There's no way you will not make success out of it. Now, humility is a very key attribute to putting on the right attitude. If you are humble, nobody definitely will see you as arrogant, because that is not you. That is not who you are. Humility is, let me call it, your ability to put yourself in a position where, you are sensitive to your environment, you are sensitive to people you are interacting with. It is not about you. If you wear a heart of humility, it is not about you. It is always about others first. You are important, very, very important, but you consider others first. Now, if you put others first, if you put people's feelings first, you will not address them with a negative attitude. If you put people's goals ahead, you will not put attitude that will affect them negatively and make them not achieve their goals. And once you are a humble person with a positive spirit and a right attitude, you will be successful alongside people around you. You will be an agent of success. It is very important for us to have humility in everything we do. It's a virtue. It's a must-have. It's very important to be humble. No matter the situation we are in, whether you are the president of an organization or the MD of a company, or humility is very key. Humility is very important. Humility helps our team as leaders. If you're a leader listening, humility encourages your team. They'll be wondering, what kind of boss is this? How is this in such a position and yet so humble? It is a very important attitude that if you put on, you will not only be a happy person that will choose the right attitude, but you also encourage your team to always outright and put on the right attitude. Okay, here I'm going to round up now for for questions. But I'll just end with this saying that true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. Thank you very much for listening. So I believe we may have some questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Olumide, for that insightful session. I mean, we cannot overemphasize the issue of humility and having the right attitude, especially if you want to climb up in the corporate world. Thank you very much. For those watching, please feel free to send in your questions via the comments box in any of the on any of the platforms you are watching on, and we will take the questions after the next speaker, so you have enough time to put your questions together. If your questions are being directed at a particular speaker, please indicate that in the comment box. I'd like to welcome Mr. Tsholofelo Papi, joining us all the way from South Africa. He's an advocate, an expert, moderator, amongst many things, and he will be taking it a bit further from where Mr. Olumide has left us. So I'm doing something, I'm taking down notes, I'm writing, I'm learning, and I encourage everyone to please do the same. Mr. Papi, over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Olumide, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the introduction. I'd just like to give you a quick update in terms of who am I, and I would just like to introduce myself by telling a personal story. And my personal story is that how did I meet Reverend Mavi? What happened is that we were in a discussion, and then in terms of we wanted to do business together, and then Mavi gave me a call. I think it was 1-2 emails, and she gave me a call to say, Papi, look, I like what you are doing in South Africa. Can you come and do it in Nigeria? And in one attempt, what Mavi did, booked a flight, booked accommodation, and what I did on my side, I got into the flight and landed in Nigeria. First time ever. Now, when you look at that, there's nowhere in business school do they teach you that. There's nowhere in business school they teach you that you talk to someone once you get into a flight and you get there. There's nowhere in business school they tell you that, you take such a risk. I mean, if I had to sit down and I ask a professor in a business school to say, if someone sends you a couple of emails and book you a flight and say, come and do this work, will you do it? Because they'll say, no, but what is the risk? They'll put all sorts of things around it. And the reason I'm mentioning this personal experience is that that's where it started. And when you look 10 years down the line, I can still call Miss Mavi Isibo my friend. So now the question is, what is that glue that made it that such high risk can be taken and it end up in still 10 years as a relationship? So what I want to do, I don't want to be philosophical, but I want to go back to say, if you look at what is called business, sometimes business school, we just complicate this thing. A business, I can take you 2,000 years ago in the Bible. I mean, if you look at Joseph, the father of Jesus, he was a carpenter. And that's how they survived. And he was a businessman where he made stuff and he sold them for the family to survive. We can go back and go to Paul. Paul was a tent maker. That's how he preached the gospel. He would sit, make a tent, and then sell the tent, and then take money and then go and preach the gospel. And then I can even take you back. Let's go back into philosophy time. We can talk about Aristotle. We can talk about Plato. All those people. There is a glue that we need to understand that you will never be taught at business school. Now, that personal story I told about you and about me and Mavi, after I took a couple of emails and she booked a flight and I was there. And when I got to the travel clinic, when they gave me an injection, they started telling me all sorts of stories about Nigeria. But 10 years later, we're still friends. So now, will you be taught at business school that when someone sends you a couple of emails, go and do business there? You will never be taught that. So why am I going back to as far as over 2,000 years ago to tell you that business is not complicated? Business is about solving a problem. When Paul wanted to go preach the gospel, he realized that people in the area they need tents, because today will be construction. He became a construction a person where he built tents, he sold them, and he took the money and preached the gospel. Joseph as well made stuff, he sold them, and that's how he looked after his family. So when I start with these examples, I want to encourage you for you to understand that sometimes we complicate our lives. And I'm not saying education is not important. What I'm just saying is that over and above what you are taught in business school, you will never hear the things I'm sharing with you today. And I can go further. There's lots of books you read. I mean, we read books like Who Moved My Cheese? I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can read Chicken Soup. You can read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all that. But out of all those books, the book that still remains is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. May his soul rest in peace. But when you look at where does the 7 habits come from, you look at a book that is almost over 1,000 years ago. It's called the Bible.
Yes.
If you can go back to all the principles that Stephen Covey mentioned, from be proactive, talking about you being able to solve problems, you being able to sharpen your sword, and you just go back to the Bible and read some of those chapters correctly, not in a preaching format, but correctly, you'll pick up that there are business principles there. There are people who have been doing business. But the only thing is that now, when we get into a business, we think that it's out of the ordinary. And then now, obviously, there's a new word called EQ, emotional intelligence. They're telling us about it. But you find that if you are able to just take a break and say, but what is business? I really like the talks by Simon Sinek. What Simon Sinek talks about the why. If you don't understand the why you're doing something, you will never get anywhere. And he says, if your why is not a burning ambition for you, you'll never go anywhere. So I can have such a brilliant idea, but if my why is not big enough for me to be able to wake up, I mean, if I could think, Mavi, we woke up at 4 a.m., drive to the team building venue, we prepared for the client, and I remember that our sessions used to finish at 12 midnight. we never complained. You know, and that's the why I'm talking about. Our why was just too big that even it was 4 o'clock, the clients were saying, look, Papi, we are tired now. We'll say, no, take siesta. 8 o'clock, they are back. And then they continued with us. Remember, we're not alone. They continued with us till 12 midnight. So their why was so big as well to say that, you know what we are learning here is so powerful that they take it with them. So if you listen to the talks by Simon Sinek when he talks about your why must be big enough, they will never tell you at business school that your why must be big enough. They'll tell you about strategies. Remember, I work with strategy, I work with models, and models change every year. So if I look at 5 years ago, the models have changed in business, now they're new ones. But the why doesn't change. The times can change, the models can change, but the why doesn't change. In business, if you understand your why, and your why is a burning ambition enough for you to wake up 5 a.m., for you to sleep 1 a.m., then you are in business. And this is what I really want to share, to say, especially young people. I always say to them, when you see a CEO having a corner office, driving a big car, don't say, what have you done or what business are you in? I want to be like you. I always advise them, when you meet that man, ask them about their journey. Don't ask them about their success. Ask them about their journey to the corner office. And then I'll give you an example. One friend of mine said, no, Papi, there's a guy who's doing trading. He's making a lot of money and all that. And he was so excited because he wanted to do trading. And I said, wait, just wait. I support you. And if I need to borrow you money, I will do that. But please just go back to that man and just ask him one question and you listen to him. He said, what is that? Just ask him the journey, how he got here. Then the young man went. When he came back to me a day later, I said, yo, Papi, the man told me that he got bankrupt 3 times. Then I asked the question, are you willing to be bankrupt 3 times? If you are not willing to be bankrupt 3 times when you're doing trading, then don't go. Because that man's why he was doing trading was big enough that even though he was bankrupt, he was able to pick himself up again. He was able to self-motivate himself. He was able to say, look, I'm going to try it again. So sometimes when we are busy doing business or busy talking about what we want to do, we forget the basic principles. And the other point I want to just touch on is issue of relationships. In business school, we're not taught about relationships. We're only taught about the relationship between a buyer and a seller, that there must be some money that must exchange, and then therefore there's a deal. But we forget that relationships are the glue that brings everything together. And relationships are not something that you can buy. If your relationship is bought, once that money is finished, the relationship is gone. But if you truly build a relationship with your client, whether it's your client, whether it's your supplier, and you build a good relationship that is based on what? On values. Because in business school, they never tell you what type of values your business is going to need for it to be successful. If you can go to a lot of business, they all believe in all sorts kind of values. And they say these are our values. But the point is that, is there a chapter somewhere in a business class where they say, for your company to succeed, you need these 3 values. And then if you have them as your core values to do business, you'll be successful. There's never something like that. So values are something that you need to research. And we want to say, I don't know, maybe Mavi will share with us later to say, when she decided that, look, there's this young man in South Africa, I'm gonna give him a call or send an email. And remember, in the relationship that I explained with Mavi now, a lot of things could have gone wrong. One, Mavi could have purchased the ticket and I don't pitch. That could have happened. Or 2, I could have rocked up there, then Mavi doesn't pitch. And I'm in a foreign country, I don't know anyone. That was my first time in Nigeria. Or we could have thought that we have such a beautiful product, and we could have been a fallacy on ourselves, and the clients don't like it. But for some reason that cannot be explained in business school, is that whatever we put together became work. That's like a charm where it was able to be bought by a lot of companies, and even today they are still talking about it. So now, what is my point here? My point is that sometimes when we look at what we did, actually, Mavi, we threw the business book out of the window. Everything that we did was not according to any manager would do. So it was such an interesting experience, and we grew. And please don't think that mistake never happened. Mistakes happened. There were down times, there were up times, but I'm coming back to the why. Our why was big enough to see things through. We would do work with a client. The client doesn't pay. Papi now needs to go back to South Africa. I don't have money, and then the only thing I have is a plane ticket. I'll go back. Now I had to have the trust, because trust is one of the values. I had to have the trust that Mavi will sort it out, even though things don't go according to plan. Or he will say, Papi, look, I don't have money now. Could you please fly over? Let's do this deal. And she had to trust that I would get into that plane. I will rock up at the time she said I must rock up, and we'll do the deal. And I trusted her that things will go well. And we know that certain things don't go well. And this is something that you will never be taught at business school. And I think if we share our story, a professor will tell you that, look, guys, you were crazy. And which of course I think, yes, we were crazy that time. it was times that. And then obviously came the time of the economic meltdown. I think, Mavi, we had a tough time there, where it was an economic meltdown. We thought we had a good product. We are still riding our beautiful wave. But now businesses said, look, there's no money. We can't do this. I came twice, tried to do something. Things were not waking up. We never really said anything. We just said, look, and would business school teach you what is an economic meltdown? They'll talk about it, but they'll never tell you what to do when it's there. They'll never tell you that how to pick yourself out of those pieces. We had to figure it out. And I tell them, Mavi, no, the company just say it's economic meltdown. There's nothing. In South Africa, there's nothing. Then I remember, I think there was a time we went to Ghana. There was nothing. We went to Kenya. There was nothing. And then we realized that, is this what is a recession? I never knew what is a recession, by the way. And then I said, wow. And then only to realize that this thing is so big. And today we are facing COVID-19. And who could prepare you for COVID-19? And when I, in my business was able to change my business plan to become a COVID-19, how would I say, know-how. And then I realized that when things happen, you need to have that ability, I call it to metamorphosize. You need to have that ability to change yourself. I'm a facilitator by profession. I'm a speaker by profession. I'm a facilitator. I train. I do all that. So now, what was the next training that was on the table? Train people on COVID-19. Number 2, change the culture, because COVID-19 is going to be with us for a long time. We need to change our culture, have masks on, social distancing, improve our hygiene, wash your hands. Can you train that? Yes, I can train that. And I went into that. And then all the companies that refused or that were unable to metamorphosize, if you look at them today, some of them in South Africa have closed down. And if you look at the unemployment, youth unemployment in South Africa right now is around 50%. And then because why? Our youth in South Africa are taught to do a business plan and run around in banks looking for money. We never needed money. When we want money, we took, the little we had, Mavi, and then we said our hands and our brains is our skill. And that's what God gave you. So we used our hands and our brains to say, this is how we're going to generate income. We never expected anyone to pump in money into the business for us to be able to do the business. So in a nutshell, I'm going to be closing soon, is that when we look at values, in the business school, they'll tell you that there's thing called values, there's something called a vision, but they never tell you which one will make you successful. Two is that you need to understand your why, and your why must be big enough. So I remember times where we would wake up at 3 a.m., drive somewhere, and sometimes we had the MTN one. We almost finished at 3 a.m. at the beach, and I end up sleeping at the beach because 3 a.m. was like already a morning. So we did those things because we enjoyed it, we had passion for it, and our why was just too big for us to be able to enjoy. So it's good to go to school. It's good to understand the concepts. It's good to know, but just know that you need to be able to align your values to what you do. Number two, make sure that you get your why right. Because if your why is not right, you'll burn out. You'll just feel that, no, this is not for me. And when the tough times come, you will not be able to sustain the whole business. And lastly, have that ability to metamorphosize. I put it, change yourself. Remember, if I'm in finance, I can be in finance in a bank, I can be finance in mining, I can finance in construction. It's still finance. So even when we talk about values are all apply everywhere. And if we say be able to metamorphosize, get your skill, make sure that this skill you are able to use it anywhere, because COVID-19 is going to be with us for a while, and then we'll be able to. We're gonna really struggle a bit as South Africa. I must be honest, because if we have youth unemployment at 50%, I think probably after COVID it'll be more. Mines are retrenching. Big business are closing down. Restaurants have closed down already. So all those people who had day-to-day jobs, they don't have them anymore. So now you're gonna be working with a youth or a society that is challenged, that is demoralized, that does not see the future. And this is where now I think Olumide was saying, how do you self-motivate? And how do you pick yourself up? That no business school will tell you. That no business school will tell you. But you need to understand, I always go back to say, there are times where Mavi and I, things were not going well. We just went to church on Sunday. We knew that, things just collapsed. We didn't, and we went to church on Sunday. So she'll drag me to church and Papi, come, let's go to church. So sometimes you'll never be taught that when things are going tough, you just need to sometimes just take a step back, go and pray, realign yourself. And remember, prayer, going to church again is aligning your spirit, aligning your mind. And I think like Stephen Covey would say that you need to align yourself spiritually, mentally, and you need to make sure that everything is aligned. So Mavi, with that, I really wanted to make it personal. I really wanted to share the experience that even today I still cherish our friendship. And I remember I came to Nigeria, and this is what I say. I came to Nigeria and I didn't have enough money for the hotel. And I did not. I knew that if I go to Mavi and say, Mavi, this is all I have. Mavi put in a little bit that we had a hotel. And this is what relationships are made of. And building relationships, you have to work on them, and you have to build them, and you have to work with the other person. So with those little story, and I hope that I was able to contribute fruitfully, and is that business school is good, but make sure that you build your relationships, and your why must be big enough. Thank you very much, Mavi.
Thank you so much, Papi. I hope you can all hear me. Okay, Christabel is coming up. Oh,
yes,
good.
Thank you, Mr. Papi. That was awesome. A lot said in a very few minutes, and some key takeaways. Relationships are key. Relationship is the glue to businesses. And then when you meet mentors, don't just ask them about their successes. ensure you ask them about their journey, because everyone has a journey. But sometimes we don't want to go through the same routes that these guys go through. We just want to get to the end. Everybody has a journey. So I'll just take some comments and take the questions. People joining us from different parts of the world. Margaret Oko says, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks to the facilitators. We have Folake Ademokun from Nigeria saying she tuned in because of the topic and she's excited that it's been impactful. Matsu M says a learning attitude is key and he's noting that point. Nana Dare says, well said, right attitude. So that's a reaction to Olumide's message earlier. We have Alfred. Alfred says, attitude builds a person and you cannot learn that at business school. Yes. Katlego Morwane says, to add to the list with reference to attitude, one needs to go the extra mile, always go the extra mile, in addition to humility. Alfred is joining us from Pretoria, and he says this is very encouraging. Mr. Papi, I think that's one of your fans. Okay, so we'll take questions now. And the first question will be directed at Mr. Olumide Dare. Now, two people have asked these questions. It's really this same question in different ways. Margaret Oko says, sometimes people don't understand our attitude, or they have a wrong interpretation, or they give a wrong interpretation to the attitude. How do we deal with it? And Folake also said, do you agree that sometimes perceptions of others can be wrong due to faulty representation or our character? So you're trying to be humble, for instance, just put it in perspective, and then people think maybe you're trying to lick people's boots. You might be trying to manage your bosses, and your colleagues think you're doing some form of eye service. So how do you balance that issue of having the right attitude, doing your work, going the extra mile, and then perception of people thinking you're just you're just doing some form of eye service? How do we manage that?
Okay, thank you. Having the right attitude at work, like humility, for like the example you gave. If you are humble and you are doing your work well, people won't see it as, playing to the gallery or eye service. So first thing to note is you must do your work well. And then humility is a spice on top of doing your work properly. Now, with respect to, people having maybe the wrong perspective about you, because I've actually had people who said, well, that's not how I greeted him, or that's not how I spoke. I don't know why he thinks, why he has that perspective of me. I have two things to say to people who have found themselves in such situations. First is, we all have blind spots, and we must recognize what our blind spots are. If such a situation of misplaced perspective has happened to you more than once, you must dig deep to find your blind spots so that you are conscious of it and it doesn't rob you of your nice attitude. You must identify your blind spots and work on it. And then some people also say, I don't know why people always read me as this and I'm not that. We should never be the judge of our own character or our own attitude. You shouldn't. You should take feedbacks and take them positively. If 1, 2, 3 people are saying a certain thing about you and your motive was totally different, take that feedback, work on it, and ensure that people start seeing what you want them to see. That's what's important. Not beating yourself about people saying, the wrong thing about you. Then driving this home towards humility, there's never a second chance to correct a first impression. If such happens in a situation where, you just met somebody and then you are feeling, uncomfortable about the impression the person took away. If it's someone you can reach, humility can make you reach that person, apologize, and, show that, I'm willing to be a better person. Not argue, not saying, I don't know why but be humble, reach out to the person and, apologize and make good that relationship. It also counts for something, even though it doesn't fix the first impression.
Okay, thank you very much. So humility is still the key, and then you said something very important about feedback. So there's you don't know your blind spots, but be open enough to take feedback, and you never know how far that will go. Thank you so much, Olumide. So more comments. Alfred says, "Wow, what an experience." Louisa Akaiso says, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey is great, but the Bible has it all covered. Thank you, Mr. Papi, for sharing. Now, there's a question directed to Mr. Papi from Lisa Nsele. Lisa says, what qualifications do I need to start a business? Can anyone just start a business without having any background in business? Are you ready to answer that? Or should I take more comments?
Yeah, I know, South Africa is a bit different. We do have a lot of young people who, when opportunities are there, you find that your attitude, like Olumide is saying, your attitude drives your success. We have young people who are multimillionaires, not because of they went to school, but just because they were able to identify the right opportunity at the right time, and there was the right circumstance and all that. One thing I want to say to South African young people, you need to get the academic background. I know I talk like this, and I do have the academic background. But what we were saying is that it should not only be the only measure that you must use for your success. It is that you need to get the academic background. I know that universities, they offer a program of entrepreneurship. I'm part of the business school in Pretoria, the Tshwane University of Technology. The business school there offers and we offer an entrepreneurship program, and then after that we take the students to the market. It's a program that you don't need to, anyone can qualify, whether you've got a master's degree or you've got only a diploma, you can qualify for the program. So my advice to you, it will just investigate, because I know that for sure the business school in Pretoria does have, I think VETS has as well. Just investigate, but you need to do some kind of entrepreneurship program. Okay, even though it's not at the university level, but you need to understand what is entrepreneurship. That's a qualification I would say you need. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So, key thing that you need to get some academic qualification. I was really amazed recently when I discovered that there are some international footballers who are already going for their master's degree. So they've done bachelor's and then they are taking a master's. And these are multimillionaires, but somehow they just know that education has a place. So that's important. That's really important. Thank you very much, sir. Another question for you. Talking about relationships, that's to Mr. Papi now. So what if I'm a very deep introvert and I don't know how to break the ice and start new relationships? Does it mean I cannot succeed in business?
Yeah, no, they can succeed. One thing I always say about business is that that's why the why is so important. Even though I don't know that particular, let's say I'm an introvert, but I need to surround myself with the right people. In business, always have the financial person, because you cannot be, I'll say a construction person, and you can be again in finance. So in cases where you know your limitations, and remember, very few people know their limitations, other people don't know. That's why the whole thing around emotional intelligence is important. To say, do I know myself? If I know that I'm an introvert, I will then surround myself with marketing people who've got the right type of attitude, who've got the right type of skill to make sure that they bring me those clients. I'll give you an example. The IT people. If you go into the IT space, most of the IT people, they sit in front of a laptop. That's where their comfort zone is. We call it their preference space. So they like just doing programs. They like just being in front of the laptop the whole day. They're happy. but they still need clients. So who must go get the clients for them? They don't know how to talk the talk. They don't know how to market. So they must surround themselves with the right people. Because as long as you bring the business, I'm happy in front of the laptop. And that's why in South Africa now we are looking, even like big corporates now are looking to a program where, for you to earn more, you have to go up the ladder. And you find that if you are a finance person, or let's say in IT, once you are promoted to become a supervisor, you are no longer dealing with a laptop. You are dealing with people, because now you've got 5 people or 10 people reporting under you. Before, when a laptop gives you problem, you knew how to program it and you were happy about it. But now something goes wrong, you have to deal with 10 people. And then we call it, those type of people, they lack what we call complexity. So that means they don't like their life complex. A pilot, for example, a pilot does not like complexity. A pilot gets into a flight, gets a flight plan, ticks it up, takes the plane up, lands it again. But if you are a CEO of a company or a program director, there are so many variables you are dealing with. But a pilot only deals with very few variables, whereby you see, how do I take this thing off and how do I land it? That's it. But when you are a CEO of a company, you deal with lots of variables. You deal with strikes, you deal with employees who want incentive, you deal with finance, you deal with recruitment. And then as a CEO, you need to have the ability of complexity. And that we find in a book called The Requisite Organization. If you read that book, it will tell you about levels of work and it will tell you about levels of complexity. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The Requisite Organization, that's another recommended book. You recommended one earlier, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So if you're listening, please make sure you try and get these books. So I have a final question for Olumide.
And also,
okay.
The one by, is it Simon?
Simon Sinek, yes.
About knowing your why.
The why.
Start
why.
with why.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Start with why by Simon Sinek. Thank you. So Olumide, the final question to you now. Okay, so you had mentioned that there's nothing like too much work in an organization. So what if you feel you are really underpaid, you're grossly underpaid, and the work level is really stressful and it's beyond, it doesn't make sense to you? How do you handle that? So while you're thinking of your answer, I'll just take some comments. Lisa Insele says, thank you, Mr. Papi. It makes sense now. Lisa was one who asked the question about starting a business without any experience. So you were able to clarify that. Katslego says, thank you, Mr. Papi. The why is a huge driver and pillar to continue going. And Rudanzi says, building relationships is key. All right, so Olumide, are you ready for us now?
Oh, yes. So when you feel there's too much work or you are underpaid in a particular organization, the answer is never, a negative attitude or, grumbling and all that. Even if you are at the point where you just feel you would rather leave this company than continue, earning this money, this amount of pay for the work they are giving you. The right attitude, if it doesn't get you better pay today, it can get you in a better position tomorrow. And I'm an example of, such a situation. When I started banking, I was working in operations and I wanted to move into marketing, but my boss in operations wouldn't let me, cross over. But I was doing the job, joyfully. I was attending to, customers. So I had people in marketing, they call it corporate banking, who had customers who come in, most times late after, closing hours. Most bankers just want to close and, go home and, it's past 4 kind of, attitude. But I'm always willing. It's like I had a place to go. I had places to go to, but I was always willing to help so long as it was still within my powers, to be nice in the environment, to take, late customers, you know. So my colleagues could see this. Now, it didn't get me into corporate banking at the time. I left that particular organization, and then one of my former colleagues saw me one day, or she called me as a matter of fact to say, "What's up? Where are you now? Are you now in the kind of position you want to be?" And I said, "I'm not yet there." And she took me to an executive director in another bank and just told him, "This guy, he's a pleasant staff. In fact, as an operations person, we were fighting to ensure that he moves to marketing because we just like, you know, this and that about him." And the man said, "You are sure you want to work in marketing? People are running away from marketing. Are you sure about this?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure. Do you know one or two people who can get you?" We just had a short conversation and it happened. Remember, this person, this right attitude I showed was about a year, you know, behind. I had even left that environment, but it stuck in that person. I'm sure after I left that place, the person was always like, "We've not had any, you know, anybody like this, like that guy. We've not had anybody like, in fact, let me give him a call." And that is what happened. So even if you feel, you know, overused or underpaid, the right attitude still counts for today and for tomorrow, because it is still people that you will meet on your way to your destination, to achieving your goal. Some of them may be these people who you work with today. Some may be people who these people know or their customers. You know, the world is a web. Everyone is connected somehow. And that attitude you put up whilst you are in this seemingly unhappy position, you don't know where, you know, they're going to call for it and say, "Okay, what's in your attitude account? Is it in credit or is it in debit?" So whatever your situation, always ensure, put up in fact, it's the right attitude. Even if you don't want to leave that organization, your attitude and the way you handle your work can give you, you know, the confidence to go ahead and say, "I think, you know, I deserve this, you know, based on I'm ready also to accept more responsibility." You have the confidence to have such a conversation. So there's no option to the right attitude. There is just no, it opens doors for different opportunities, for conversations, for promotion, for recognition. It does. If it seems like, oh, it's not working, it's not doing it today, today may not be the time. And there's no expiry date to the right attitude. It's a lifetime, you know, display. Thank you.
I like that. There is no expiry date to the right attitude. You know, and I totally agree with you. Margaret here says, "Well spoken, Dari." And really, for every time I have gotten a promotion or gotten a new business deal or a referral, it's always been based on attitude, you know, and most times, that's from my personal experience, and most times I actually work beyond my current status and salary, and I eventually get the promotion, you know. So it's all about the attitude. You can decide to stay where you are, keep working within your comfort zone, keep working within the level of your remuneration, and you would remain there. But for you to actually rise, you need to do the extra. So there is no compromise to that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Olumide. Thank you, Mr. Papi. And Reverend Mavi, I'll call you up now. I know you have a couple of questions before you do the wrap up
Yes.
for today's session.
Okay, I have two questions, one for Olumide and one for Papi. Olumide, in business, even if it's a sole proprietress, you know, or proprietor, it's a general enterprise type of thing. No matter how small the business is or how big, you find yourself, you owing. Either you're owing a bank, you're owing a sponsor, you are owing an investor or something, but you're owing, you know. And so what's I know that, you know, many businesses or many individuals, when they owe for the business, they try to separate themselves from the business and say, "It's not me, it's the business that is owing you." Meanwhile, it was based on relationship that you got the loan or the investment in the first place, because So how do you manage that type of situation? How do you manage that type of relationship so that you can continue having the right relationship, a cordial relationship with the person who you are owing?
Thank you, ma'am. So
Thank you.
one very important thing in a creditor-debtor relationship from the debtor side is willingness to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Willingness to pay. You must show willingness to pay at every stage of that transaction. So, like Papi said earlier, there are events that could happen and make a business not go as planned. What we see most times, like when I was working in the bank, you see people stop picking their phones, you see they change house addresses, they just try to run away from the lender.
Yes.
However, I've also seen few people who will come before you open at 8 a.m., they're in your office. They are coming to see you to tell you what the current situation is. If the projection they gave you last month has changed and they are even unable to pay and probably they are owing more, they will still come to say, this is how much the projection has shifted. These are the reasons for the shift. I paid for more time. Can you help me restructure, this loan? I can try and pay, a little portion of it. Such a debtor who is engaging his or her creditor is seen as a credible person and has the willingness to pay. And every creditor knows that this person, if empowered, under different circumstances, this person will pay this money. So what I have to say to people who, are in such situations, who are in the, debtor, category is, do not run away from your lender. Be it an individual, be it an institution, do not run away. Your lender derives comfort. Some comfort, you may not see it, or the lender may not smile, but it derives comfort from listening to you, from you being transparent, verifiably transparent. If you say something went wrong, I can verify and I can see it. And you now tell me what is the new solution. So always approach your lenders with transparency and with a solution that is practicable. It is never a solution to run away from your lender. Never. It hardly, and we have seen situations, in those few situations where people are transparent and open and they stay close to their lender in situations where things are not going as planned. Sometimes most of those debts is written off, where the institution has the capacity to, they write off the debt, or they restructure it in a way that, okay, maybe let's stop interest on this loan. This situation is beyond this person's ability. If we were in his shoes, there's nothing really we can do. Let us stop interest on this loan. When the business picks up, or when from other sources, the person can pay principal over a time. It gives your lender, even puts the lender in a position to look for a solution for you, even if you do not have the full solution. So, finally, it is not the way forward to avoid your lender. Your lender will hardly ever choose to kill you because your money is in his hands. Sorry, his money is in your hands. So just be open, be humility, and propose a solution that you think is practicable. Where it doesn't work, do not shy away. Stay close to the lender. A solution will come out, or your debt written off in some situations we have seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Olumide. I have a question for Papi. Papi, like you rightly said, when we first started.
No, the connection is gone.
Okay, while we're waiting for her to come back, let me just take a couple more comments. Maureen Agedo has joined us and she says, what is in your attitude account? Food for thoughts. That was in response to one of the comments Olumide had made earlier. What's in your attitude account? And Margaret says there is no option to the right attitude, no expiry dates to the right attitude. You have just answered my unspoken question. So Olumide, you are now a mind reader. Thank you for answering the unspoken question. Rodzani says, thank you, Mr. Papi, for recommending the books. I'm sure to read them. Okay, so there's another comment here from Margaret. It says, know your limitation and surround yourself with the right people. Thank you, Mr. Papi. I caught a big revelation there. Know your limitations and surround yourself with the right people. That was in response to the earlier question about if you are an introvert and you're unable to break the ice and starting new relationships. So that's a good revelation there. Thank you very much, sir. Alfred says, to do things right, you must now. Right, you must not do it the way you did it yesterday, but you must ask, okay, how well will I do it tomorrow? Your attitude must have very big, hairy, it must be driven by very big, hairy, audacious goals. Okay, thank you, Alfred. And IY Kid says we go learn how to love and live. Thank you, IY, for your comments. Okay, I guess that's a fan of yours, Mr. Papi.
Yeah.
Okay. Love from IY and all your fans. All right, Reverend welcome back. You had a question for Mr. Papi?
Yes, Papi. I wanted to find out, a lot of times, especially when you are in business and you're just starting, especially, you go to see maybe a big client or an investor or something. You are sitting down there, trying to make conversation, not realizing that the negotiation or business talk has already started, and that this important client or busy client is not interested in chit chat. How is your family? How is your wife? How are your children? I saw you yesterday. So that negotiations and the business conversation has actually started. Many times, people miss out on that, and so they lose the opportunity. So I don't know whether you can just say something about it.
Yeah, people, the millennial type of situation. When I say millennial, after the 2000s, interviews are not like conventional interviews we know. And I always fight with corporates and say to them, 90% of your questions you ask in an interview is about my skill, but I've got a master's degree in engineering. But you ask 10% about my attitude, you ask 10% about my personality. Whereby, when you look at statistics in the world, 90% of the people are fired because of their attitude. They are fired because of their behavior. And only 10% they are fired because they can't do the work. So if I'm shortlisting candidates and 3 of them have engineering master's degrees, they've got 10 years experience, what else do I want to see? I want to see if this person fits into my team. I want to see if this person has got a can-do attitude. I want to see if this person, when my company goes down, he will stand with me. I'm looking for certain things. And then why I fight with them, I say, why don't you make 80% of your questions about behavior, about attitude, about resilience, about values, about loyalty, instead of asking the guy what you already know from the CV. The guy's got 10 years experience, he's an engineer, he's got a master's. What do you want to know? So now you find that interviews these days, it's all about conversations. When you come into my office and I start asking you questions, you thinking that, no, let me wait when the interview comes. But already the interview has started. And if you cannot present yourself in a manner that is convincing to the other person, to show this person that you know what you are talking about, you have already lost the opportunity. Because I mean, when a lot of people, when they come to me and I ask them, but why didn't this person make it? The person could not even just articulate themselves very clearly. What is the biggest question they ask you in an interview? The biggest one. Tell us about yourself. You start saying, yeah, I'm about myself. If you cannot even express who you are, and the client really feels your skills means nothing to them because of the little bit they want from you. But what I can advise a lot of people is that, especially when you start having conversations are important, whether it's within your organization, within your friends, within your work circle. How you articulate yourself really says something about you. And then I don't want to go, I could go into issues around ethics or into issues around the whole brain thinking. And again, is that when you go for that interview, know who you are going to see. Because sometimes you might prepare too much. Sometimes you might prepare too less. So if you know who you're going to see, obviously, if I'm going to go for an interview of a marketing position where they look for creativity, I need to get there and talk creativity. But if I'm going to be interviewed and I'm an engineer, I need to go there and be able to have my story from a factual, logical way, because those people are engineers. That's how they work. That's how they think. And I think that what I would say is just be aware of your conversations and make sure that when you get into those conversations, you do them in the right way. And when you are going to interview, there's no starting of the interview and not ending of the interview. As long as you walk in there, from the way you walk, the way you are wearing, the way you look at them, the way you talk to them, that's an interview already. So don't think that there's going to be time for interview. As you walk into that building, they see you, the interview has started. Thank you very much, Mavi.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Can I just add something?
Yes.
Just let you know that even the seemingly innocent comments you make, actually, they are all part of, yes, and be careful. So don't see a picture on your client's table and it's a picture of a beautiful young lady and say, is that your daughter? Meanwhile, that may be his wife. I tell you, you are losing that business. So be careful, yes. And then, yes, don't make comments that about that will show your character, where and make the person feel like as if, oh, this person is unethical. You say, no, maybe you're watching something together on television and you say, look at this man, he should have taken this thing and run away. So is that how you will run away with my own money, or you run away? So and all these conversations are actually the man is sizing you up. So don't go out there making all those conversations that look like as if they are. You think you're trying to make conversation, you're trying to create a rapport, but that just may not be the case. All right. So thank you so much. It's Christabel, back to you. Do you want to read some more comments, or what do you?
Oh no, we're done. We've taken all the comments, really. Rodzani just says attitude and behavior are more important than skill.
Yes.
Well, Margaret was asking, Margaret wanted to clarify if Mr. Papi is saying that attitude is preferable to skill. But I think he's explained that already. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the House of Praise. Thank you very much for inviting us. We really appreciate it. And I think, Mavi, maybe once COVID is done, we'll invite you at Higher Grace International in South Africa, maybe to come and preach there. And I think I'll talk to the apostle and the professor and the bishop to see what we can do, because I think conversations like this are important. And we, just to give you a picture, in South Africa right now, we are sitting on a time bomb. And what I mean by a time bomb is that when you are sitting on 50% youth unemployment, where there are no services, where things are opportunities are not there, they get to a point where they don't care anymore. And there are so many people in South Africa that are trying to do programs, and the church is one central area that we are trying to make a difference. And I think it would be nice if, when you come, probably come with some other people from your church, just to be able to share ideas, and we can see what we can do, because they need inspiration right now. Thank you.
Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Papi.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the invites for the future, because I said I'm not leaving my country in the next 2 years.
Yes, that's for the future.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Olumide.
Thank you.
Thank you for such.
Thank you for having us.
Oh yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
increasing our
It's a
knowledge.
real pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
I want to close by saying we have not exhausted all information and answers to the questions people may have. But if you find yourself in a place where you are struggling with attitude, but you really desire to show the right attitude, for people to see the right in you, don't forget, you can always talk to your maker. Pray about it, and God will see you through.
Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, everyone. This is House of Praise, Church of God Mission International, House of Praise Parish in Lekki Phase 1. And we have been glad to bring this to you. We hope you have found it insightful, and you found it educative. And please join us again tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Dr. Louisa Akaiso. We have Daine-Monique, Adjanknhoun, and of course, yours truly will be speaking tomorrow also. And the topics are equally interesting. Louisa will be joining us from the US, and Daine-Monique will be joining us from Republic of Benin. And of course, I am proudly Nigeria. God bless you all. Thank you very much indeed for being a part of this. And then we look forward to seeing you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. same time. I hope Papi will also be here with us, because we are going to have a grand panel at the end to just close up everything. Have a good night's rest. See you tomorrow. Let's just close in prayer, because we started with prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you. Thank you, because every good and perfect gift comes from you. We give you praise, we give you glory. Thank you for a successful outing today. And we ask, oh Lord, that you increase the anointing for tomorrow, anointing for knowledge, anointing for insight, anointing for wisdom, in the name of Jesus. Thank you, mighty Father. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
Amen. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Every person is a real somebody. God never made a nobody.
You were created for a purpose. God's purpose for you is real, and it is achievable.
House of Praise is a church with a divine mandate. It's a place of cleansing, deliverance, and salvation.
A church where your gifts, talents, and divine assignment is expressed in service to God.
Remember, every divine deposit multiplies with use.
At CGMI House of Praise, we believe in your dream. We believe your dream is possible. God believes in you.
And so do we.